Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. Chelsea won, Arsenal won, and I think that's game over for Arsenal in the title race. What a weekend it's been for Liverpool. 5 points clear of Manchester City, 9 points clear of Arsenal and Chelsea. The title is not Liverpool's yet, but I think it's time to rule out Arsenal. I don't think Chelsea were ever in it. And some will say, well, look, there's still a lot of football to be played and 9-point gaps can be broken down. Obviously, Arsenal have potentially got some very winnable games, and they do look a lot better with Odegaard back. But with Saka hobbling off, the bigger thing for me is really just how brilliant the Premier League is. It's so good at the moment. I mean, it's ridiculous how tight it is from like 10th to 3rd. But that is something that's going to cause Arsenal problems because the competitive league makes an 8-point gap or a 9-point gap bigger than it actually is. Because to close 9 points on Liverpool, they've got to lose 3, you've got to win 3, and that just puts you level. So how are you going to do that? In this league, I don't see a team at the moment that's going to start pounding out 10 win runs in a row. So I said it a couple of weeks ago. People said it was a bit premature, but I look at Arsenal this season. I don't fall into the trap that, Arteta's not this and Arsenal are not that. I think it's a really competitive league. I think the sending offs, the Odegaard, that's been problematic for them. And I think Liverpool have just had a very, very good start to the season. Man City is struggling as well. But Liverpool have just been this team that's just come up from sort of nowhere under Slot. No one knew to expect that. And they now lead the way and they're looking very, very good. I still think Man City are in the title race, but I genuinely think it's a 2-horse race. And I don't think Arsenal are in it. They just don't look like a team. I think the big message would be, some people were saying you can't rule Arsenal out because of the last 2 years, but this is this year. Do that Arsenal team look like a team that's going to close a 9-point gap on anybody? And the honest answer is no. Even today, they put the hard work in to get 1-0. And from that point, I'm thinking they have to win today just to give themselves a chance. They get the goal, they work really hard, and then they more or less instantly concede. Now, there's nothing they can do about Neto's goal, but that just feels to me like Arsenal this year. It's just not flowing as well as it maybe was last year. They're not getting the break. You know, maybe last season Neto hits that 10 yards over the bar and Arsenal just grow in confidence and shut it down. There's still a lot to like about Arsenal, but as I said a couple of weeks ago, I feel they've dropped too many points. As for Chelsea, look, Chelsea are a work in progress, and I think they were poor against United last week at Old Trafford, and I think today they deserved a point. But they're still a work in progress. For them, if they can get top 4, they'll be very happy, and they're still very, very, in a very good position for that. And also, I think they'll look at a lot of the games they've played recently and say, we're still staying in a good position with regards to the race for top 4. But as I said this before in the week, when I look at that Arsenal side, Havertz just, for me, isn't it for 90 minutes. That's just not scary enough. I know a lot of Arsenal fans like him. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think that if Arsenal, in these types of games, against Newcastle last week, against Inter in midweek, Arsenal have scored 1 goal in 3 games. And I think Havertz has probably played nearly every minute in every one of those games. No one's doubting he's a good player, but it ain't rocket science to say that Arsenal need a proper striker that can get them goals in games like this and, make them more of a threat. And say what you like about Jackson, but he does stretch defences. And I thought Cole Palmer was very quiet today as well. I think Chelsea can only walk out of that game and take a point. And I think Arsenal can as well. I think I said before the game, a score draw, but ultimately the real thing is Arsenal probably needed to gamble a little bit more in the final few minutes, because a point for them, really, I think Arsenal are looking at what's going on around them now. I don't think they're looking up at first place. I think for Arsenal, they will get top 4, but that's what they sort of need to look at now. It's about what they do over the next few weeks to sort of steer them clear of that very condensed pack behind them, because with the likes of Fulham and Villa and Chelsea, you don't want to sort of get stuck into that, because that's very chaotic. So I think Arsenal, really, title, they won't be giving up on it. Of course you shouldn't do. It's only November. It's not even the middle of November yet. But when I look at a 9-point gap and I look at the way Arsenal have been playing, to close a 9-point gap, you basically just got to go and win a load of games between now and May. And to do that, look, football is very simple. It's very easy to break down. For the people who are saying it's only 9 points and it's only November, to break that down, you've basically got to say, well, we're going to go and beat Man City. We're going to go and beat Liverpool. We're going to beat Chelsea. We're going to beat Spurs. We're going to beat Villa. You're going to win all your big games between now and May and not drop points to the likes of Fulham and Brentford and Brighton. And I just don't think Arsenal at the moment look like they're a team that's going to go and beat all those other teams to close that gap, because that's what you've got to do. You can't close the gap beating Southampton and Ipswich and everyone else, because that's what you'd expect Liverpool and Man City to do. So you've got to close that gap by beating the teams above you and all around you. And I just don't see that from Arsenal. I don't think that makes them a bad team. I think what's actually happened is that Arsenal have had a drop-off for various reasons. Man City have had a drop-off for various reasons. And Liverpool have just gone into this situation and gone bang and caught everyone else. Because if you look at the league table, as it stands at the moment, if Liverpool weren't in that race and weren't doing what they were doing, you'd have Man City top of the league with 23 and Arsenal 4 points behind them. And you'd be worried, actually, that Man City are unattainable for Arsenal, but it's still only 4 points. But Liverpool out there with 28, 1 loss, 1 draw, 9 wins. They are the team to beat at the moment. I think Arsenal will be fine. I think they'll comfortably get third place, if I'm being honest, maybe even second if Man City continue, but I just don't put them in a title race. Chelsea, look, bigger games to come for them, in the sense of they need to get back onto what they were doing before. Next few games for them are Leicester away, Chelsea Villa at home, Southampton away, and then Spurs away. So those 3 or 4 games, Chelsea need to try and get back to what they were doing before United and before the Arsenal game, which is actually winning games. But look, for game of the week, it wasn't. I think Brighton, Man City was. And I think it's been a very good weekend for Liverpool. But look, I get it. I'm sure there'll be people saying you can't say in November that Arsenal are out of a title race, but I think you can. And I think it comes down to they've massively missed Odegaard. And Chelsea was always going to be a difficult place to go where they needed to win. But I still think Arsenal's problem is, in games like this, with or without Odegaard, where do the goals come from? Because they just don't create enough chances. And I think still Arsenal's biggest threat is set pieces. Well, what's that all about? It's good to be good at set pieces, but that's your biggest threat. Where are the chances coming from open play? And I don't think there's enough of them, and I don't think they look clinical enough. And even the goal they scored, the keeper should have saved it. But there we go. Get your comments in below. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe, and I will speak to you on the next one.